"You are what you eat" is a statement known to everyone. But do you know that what we do before a meal also has a great impact on our health? We're going to tell you about 9 things you really shouldn't do on an empty stomach. And by empty stomach, we mean no less than 2 hours after your last meal. Also, we'll even throw in a bonus, where we will tell you some information about things you can do when you're hungry at the end of the video. Number 9. Taking anti-inflammatories. Remember that aspirin, paracetamol, and other non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs can't be taken on an empty stomach. And not because this significantly reduces their effectiveness, but because it can cause severe health problems, for example, gastric bleeding. As a general rule of thumb, you really shouldn't be taking any medicine on an empty stomach if you are not specifically required to do so. Here's our advice. Milk lowers the negative effects of non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. So, it would be a good idea to wash down your medicine with a glass full of milk, but if it's unavailable, just use lots of water. Number 8. Drinking coffee. Who didn't drink a cup of coffee in the morning and skip breakfast? But that is a terrible idea. Even decaffeinated coffee will stimulate the production of acid that might cause lots of digestive tract issues if drunk on an empty stomach. And beyond that, you may not even get the desired effect you want from coffee if you skip breakfast after it, because it may lead to a serotonin deficiency, resulting in a gloomy mood for the rest of the day. What's the solution here? If it's tough for you to give up the habit of drinking coffee in the morning, try to drink your coffee with milk or cream. The milk fat will reduce the negative effects. Also, try choosing natural coffee over freeze-dried. Number 7. Drinking alcohol. Basically, without eating, the alcohol absorption rate becomes twice as fast, which means you're going to get drunk 2 times sooner. And while it may sound like a good deal for someone, it has lots of negative repercussions. Some of them are immediate, like a much higher chance of a severe hangover, and some of them are long-term, like bad consequences for your liver, heart, and kidneys. How to handle this situation? Try to give preferences to cooled, non-carbonated drinks as they are absorbed more slowly. But even better, try to get your hands on some food, maybe a small sandwich, ideally one that contains butter. Number 6. Chewing gum. When you chew your gum, your organism thinks that you're eating food that it will have to digest pretty soon. So your stomach makes a digestive acid which destroys its lining when it's empty. This means that overindulgence with gum is a sure way to develop gastritis. Also, it's scientifically proven that people who chew gum prefer junk food, like French fries or candy, instead of healthy options like fruit and vegetables. Here's some advice. Chewing gum that contains natural sweeteners like xylitol and sorbitol is far less harmful than those with sugar. Also, just don't chew gum for more than 10 minutes. Even with a full stomach, it can still do some nasty things to your intestines. Number 5. Going to bed. If you go to sleep hungry and with a low glucose level, it will not only prevent you from falling asleep, but it will probably cause the so-called superficial sleep, and you will also probably wake up earlier than expected. So, when you go to sleep hungry, you sleep worse. Interestingly, a lack of sleep will increase the level of hunger hormones. That is the reason why we eat more on the following day after skipping dinner, and not because our organism remembers not having enough food the day before. What's the best solution here? It is commonly known that gorging yourself before sleep is also a pretty bad idea. The best option is drinking some dairy product. They contain magnesium and calcium. These elements should ensure a sound. Number 4. Intense training. There is a common misconception that exercising on an empty stomach will burn more calories. That is not true. It doesn't influence fat loss. Muscle loss, on the other hand, is pretty real. Also, the exercise intensity is also reduced quite a bit since your body lacks energy from food. What to do then? Try replacing intense training with some aerobic exercises. If you have any digestive issues, you'd better have a snack before any exercise. Physical activity, much like chewing gum, stimulates the production of gastric juice, which is, as we've already mentioned, harmful for an empty stomach. Number 3. Shopping. It's common knowledge that going grocery shopping while hungry will end with only one thing: buying way more food than you need. But in fact, an empty stomach dictates our behavior even in non-food stores. Research shows that our brain adapts the internal message of "I want food" into "I want" if there's no food around. So, a hungry person always buys way more stuff than he or she needs. The obvious advice here is to make a shopping list beforehand while you are not hungry. But if that's not an option and you are already in a store, try paying in cash. There is scientific proof that people tend to be far less wasteful with their money when they use real money rather than a credit card. Number 2. Drinking citrus juice. And once again, we return to the acid harming the stomach lining. This time, it's citrus juice, which does contain acid and tough fibers, which will irritate an empty stomach. This is especially important for people who have gastritis or are at risk of developing it. Our advice is quite simple. Just mix the juice with water. Diluted citrus juice doesn't lose any of its benefits and becomes less harmful. If you have hyperacidity, a 1-to-1 ratio is probably best for you. If not, 2-to-1 is fine. By the way, some other foods are not very good for your empty stomach: tomatoes, green vegetables, and bananas. Number 1. Arguing. Scientists have proven that hunger makes us far less composed. The reasons are quite simple. Self-control requires energy, which is in short supply when the stomach is empty. Here's an easy fix. If you don't have time to grab a bite of food before a discussion, drink something warm and offer it to your opponent too. Or, better yet, suggest having the conversation over dinner. The promised bonus: what you can do when you're hungry. Well, there's at least 2 things that you should do on an empty stomach. Number 1. Solve problems. Your ability to concentrate increases when you're hungry. According to research, this is the legacy of our early ancestors.